against Arcanine, yeah, Nihilego should really be able to put in some work if Jamie decides to bring it out here for this first round.
Well, you can see that Jamie on the left-hand side of your screen will be running an Arcanine, Mandibuzz, Milotic, Nihilego, Pheromosa, and Tapu Bulu. And on the right-hand side, Milotic, Arcanine, Tapu Bulu, Togedemaru, Aerodactyl, and Garchomp with Daniel Oztekin. Yeah, Aerodactyl and Garchomp, we haven't really mentioned it. Also very common combination, utilizing Skydrop usually to allow Garchomp to get off a sword stance, since then with increased power, Earthquake just can really sweep through teams really easily. Here, as we were saying, with Tapu Bulu being on both teams, that's probably not going to happen, since, yeah, the only terrain that can even be up in this battle will be that grassy terrain, which then, as we were saying, will lower Earthquake's power drastically. The hands have been shaken. We are just about to get into round one here at the Pokemon 2017 Birmingham Regional Championships. Jamie Boyt against Daniel Oztekin in what will be a corker of a match. Certainly, and once again, I just really want to stress again on how important this match is for both of these trainers, not only for today, but also in the long run. Because, again, the championship leaderboards is what is interesting for those players. Of course, placing well here would be really good, but also knocking out a potential rival here, exactly, for that spot for the sweet spot in the top 16 would be, yeah, well, an extra big deal here. So both of them have the chance to do so. Jamie is the one who has more points, who is at the moment sitting in the top 16, who wants to push Daniel away, being like, hey, no, sorry, I mean, you had a nice season, you're qualified for day one, but please stay there. Yeah, stay down, guy. I got this. I can take that top 16 spot. Another Pokemon we really want to see here might be Pheromosa as well, with the option to go into Garchomp and Aerodactyl on Daniel's team quite nicely. With the ability, oh, there we go. Actually, we're back in. Oh, we're already starting. Unfortunately, Tapu Bulu switching in for the Arcanine on Jamie's side of the field. So the competitive boost obviously has gone off onto that Milotic on Daniel's side of the field. And Rock Slide coming out from the Aerodactyl now. It's going to do some nice damage to both Nihilego and Tapu Bulu here. Scald coming out from the Milotic on Nihilego. Oh, surviving 6 HP, and Nihilego going for that Trick Room. Really interesting first turn. So a lot of stuff happened here. We did see Jamie actually opted to lead off with that Arcanine despite Milotic being on his opponent's team, and it actually, the gamble, so to say, did not pay off here, because Milotic was actually in Daniel's lead here, and yeah, now with that competitive boost though, still not able to knock out the Nihilego in one hit. And now Trick Room being set up. Tapu Bulu looks like, well, the main answer here on Jamie's team against Daniel's Milotic, because of course the grass type attacks, usually one of the problems that Tapu Bulu faces is that it cannot maintain the boost it gains, since there's so many other Tapus that are very common. However, not in this matchup, because there won't be any like Tapu Lele coming in overriding the terrain. Yeah, this boost is here to stay, and so Milotic, yeah, it is boosted now, but still has to be really very, like, they don't know how these Pokemon match up in terms of speed, for example, so yeah, we'll see what happens here. So the Unnerve ability being removed from the field because of Aerodactyl. The Wiki Berry acting on Nihilego, taking it back over half HP. Tapu Bulu now coming in for the Aerodactyl on Daniel's side of the field, and a safe protect from Milotic here. Horn Leech, you imagine, is going to... Oh, no, it actually target down the Aerodactyl. So nice play from Jamie there to make that read, doing a little bit of damage and getting a little bit of health back while he's at it. But now what does the Nihilego do? If he also doubled up into that, and yep, he does, called the protect correctly. Good play here by Jamie, and yeah, that's a very curious and interesting interaction here. As you were saying, Unnerve, the hidden ability of Aerodactyl makes it so that berries cannot activate. So that Nihilego was actually sitting there at very low HP, really happy about surviving that boosted Scald, but couldn't just eat the berry because the Aerodactyl was still there, but now that it was switched out, of course, Nihilego really regenerating a lot of health here with the Grassy Seed and also the berry that it just ate. The board position for Jamie looks really good here. He's got the Nihilego in, being able to threaten big damage on the Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu on his side of the field might also be able to force out this Milotic with its boost, removing the boost from competitive. So we have to see how Jamie wants to play this. Maybe he wants to protect his Nihilego for later on in the game. It does some nice damage against the rest of Daniel's team, especially if he brought that Arcanine in the back. Yeah, Daniel was really hoping to switch in the Tapu Bulu here and then threaten a KO on Nihilego the next turn, since it was at such low HP, but he didn't know that the berry was still in place here for Jamie. So now that the
that Nihilego actually recovered a lot of its HP, that Tapu Bulu probably won't be able to knock it out in one hit. And yeah, as we were saying, Poison being so super effective against Tapu Bulu makes it so that instead Arcanine will come in Tapu Bulu's place.
So we're going to see the Ice Beam. Oh, 5 HP survival there. Tapu Bulu going for the big Wood Hammer onto Milotic. It will knock itself out in the process, but it takes out a massive threat for Jamie's side.
Yeah, this time not going for the Horn Leech. That would have helped Tapu Bulu make it through this turn, since of course that would regenerate some HP. Nihilego here didn't want to take any of the boosted Scald. Like, we didn't know whether the Tapu Bulu or the Milotic would move first here in Trick Room. So Jamie valuing the Nihilego correctly, in my opinion, more over the Tapu Bulu, decides to protect the Nihilego, take out the Milotic with the Tapu Bulu, or at least attempt that. And now, as we were seeing, well, Tapu Bulu and Aerodactyl being in the back here for Daniel now, Nihilego has a super good matchup against all 3 of those Pokemon, as long as it can move first. So
it depends on how he's trained his Nihilego, because if it's got Trick Room, maybe this is an indication that it's actually a slower Nihilego, but with its high base speed, it may still not be able to outspeed these Pokemon in Trick Room. We actually see the Arcanine come in now. It's going to drop an Intimidate onto both the possible physical Arcanine and that Tapu Bulu, which relies heavily on its attack stat.
Yeah, now that Milotic was removed from his opponent's team, Arcanine being a super solid switch in here, lowering Tapu Bulu's and Arcanine's attack stats so that Nihilego can now even think about just staying in and attacking, because yeah, seeing how Daniel played with his Tapu Bulu, this might be a little more like bulky Tapu Bulu. Also, he took the attacks relatively well. But
the helping hand.
Yeah, Arcanine is going to help its buddy to dish out the damage here.
We're going to see some massive damage coming out from that Tapu Bulu. It's going to go into the Nihilego,
but I don't think that will be enough. No, okay.
45 HP remaining on that Nihilego, but a lot of recovery for that Tapu Bulu. Flare Blitz is going to come out from the Arcanine. It looks like it's going to go into that Tapu Bulu as well, so going to do some massive damage there, knocking out the Tapu Bulu. It goes down. Are we going to see a Power Gem going into this Arcanine, Marcus?
Yeah, we're really seeing why Tapu Bulu fell a little bit out of fashion here. Being up against 2 Pokemon that it can't really do too much against. Arcanine with the super effective Flare Blitz, Nihilego threatening the super effective Sludge Bomb, and Nihilego really proving why it's such a solid anti-metagame kind of pick at the moment. We were also mentioning it before the cast, like being able to threaten Arcanine on all Tapus with same type attack bonus attacks is super valuable. And yeah, that Arcanine was able to hang in there against that Power Gem, but Daniel is now down to his last 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, the last 2 being that Arcanine and Aerodactyl here. And Nihilego still has a really strong matchup against both of these Pokemon. Arcanine on Jamie's side of the field doesn't want to take much damage from that Aerodactyl, but Trick Room running out soon. He needs to put some pressure onto this Aerodactyl, because it will be the fastest thing once Trick Room goes out.
Yeah, we also have not seen Jamie's last Pokemon here, so that could also play a very important role in how this match plays out. But yeah, Trick Room still being in place here makes it so that Aerodactyl likely going to be the slowest Pokemon on the field. It might want to go for a Protect here just to stall out that very last turn. And then, yeah, we still do have Rock Slide being an option. But no Protect here.
We're going to see the Flare Blitz onto that Aerodactyl, which will do a decent chunk, picking up a burn. But if he's double targeted here with a Power Gem, then it's not going to matter too much at all. The opposing Arcanine going for that Flare Blitz again as well. It's going to go into that Nihilego. Will it do enough?
It will intimidated, and even though Nihilego's defense is really low, is able to hang in there. Power Gem will come off, finish off that Aerodactyl. So yeah, burn didn't matter, and now Daniel is down to his very last Pokemon, and Jamie being super close of taking this first game here.
Yeah, so Aerodactyl has left the field now. Arcanine on its own, and this is where, if you're Daniel, you need to really start thinking about what you're going to do for Game 2. Marcus, do you feel like he needs to maybe respect Nihilego a little bit more and prepare for that in this next game?
Certainly. If we have a look at his team, Togedemaru is definitely one of those Pokemon that can take on Nihilego. However, seeing as his opponent doesn't have any electric Pokemon at all, it might be a little bit of a waste to bring a Pokemon that is so dedicated in his role in countering electric types. So yeah, there we see the forfeit, and Jamie will take the first game here, the very first game in fact, at the Birmingham Regional Championships. But since we are playing best of 3, of course Daniel still has the chance to climb back here if he wins out.
Yes, and this is something that Daniel obviously will be wanting to do. Obviously everyone wants to win when they're playing for these all-important championship points, but Marcus, this is a question that we need to figure out is, if you're Daniel, you had Milotic in such a strong position. Do you feel like the plays that he made kind of wasted the position that Milotic was in?
Yeah, it was really close, and if he got that KO on the Tapu Bulu, it really survived like with 5 HP or something.
Really defensive.
Then, then all of a sudden it becomes a game of, hey, like how does Jamie actually knock out this Milotic, right? But since that was not enough to knock out the Tapu Bulu for the second game, he was probably thinking, okay, if I can get myself into the same position, maybe do some chip damage to the Tapu Bulu before I go for that Ice Beam, because now he also knows that his Milotic outspeeds the Tapu Bulu in Trick Room if his opponent opts to set that up again.
Yes.
Then maybe he can play a little bit differently there. And then also I think Garchomp is one of the main Pokemon he has to consider here in preview since, we were seeing how many problems Nihilego from Jamie was able to cause. And Garchomp is just one of the Pokemon, now that he's seen Trick Room as being the 4th move over Hidden Power Ice, which is another move that is pretty common on Nihilego for the single purpose of dealing with those pesky Garchomps. I do believe that Garchomp, despite the fact that we have 2 Tapu Bulus here, might be a very solid choice.
Pesky Garchomps indeed. So Jamie Boyt's team, Arcanine, Mandibuzz, Milotic, Nihilego, Pheromosa and Tapu Bulu, and for Daniel Oztekin, Milotic, Arcanine, Tapu Bulu, Togedemaru, Aerodactyl and Garchomp. With the team set up from Daniel's side of the field, it kind of leads you to think this Garchomp must be running a Groundium Z.
Yes, certainly.
Especially with the earthquake damage being neutered by grassy terrain, and that is such a good move to be able to take and deal with this Nihilego.
Yes, exactly. Even through Protect, you're going to do a ton of damage. You can't really block the damage with grassy terrain like you can do with Earthquake. Also against Arcanine, of course, Tectonic Rage being such a strong option. So I would be really surprised if Daniel did not bring the Garchomp after seeing again that Nihilego of his opponent does not have Hidden Power Ice. So we're playing best of 3 for a reason, and one of those reasons is also just getting more information from the first game allows you to make better calls for the second game, and knowing about the moveset of Nihilego can really, really help Daniel here.
Okay, so a switch up from Jamie Boyt. He's going to be running his own Milotic and that Tapu Bulu now, and we're going to see a Milotic and Garchomp lead coming out from Daniel Oztekin.
Yeah, so both trainers this time decided to go with that Milotic. Potentially wanted to catch Arcanine for that Intimidate. However, neither of them, after seeing how close of checkmating Daniel was with his Milotic, now both of them didn't bring with the Arcanine in the lead at least. However, we're seeing Grassy Seed activating on Jamie's Milotic, which is a very cool tech. I don't think I've seen that before, but that boosts the defense of Milotic, and we all know that the special defense is already pretty high, so making Milotic all more tanky here.
Garchomp might actually want to switch out against this Milotic here, especially if it carries Ice Beam. You don't want to lose your Garchomp instantly in a matchup like this, especially with Nihilego to worry about in the back. But also, if we see a Poison Jab coming out from the Garchomp, it will do massive damage to Tapu Bulu.
It really becomes a question of what can Garchomp even switch into, because based on the setup here, I would expect Daniel to have Arcanine and Tapu Bulu in the back, and you don't want to switch in Arcanine because Intimidate would raise Milotic's special attack, and you don't really want to switch in Tapu Bulu because that's also weak to Ice Type attacks, so consequently Daniel just opts to go for Protect here.
Protect coming out, and a double Protect actually from Daniel Oztekin, really just trying to look at what Jamie's going to be doing with his turn, and we see the Z move. It is going to be that Bloom Doom activating the Gracium Z on Tapu Bulu, and this will be some pretty big damage even through Protect.
Yeah, so I think that's exactly what Daniel was anticipating or what he was scouting for. Z moves being introduced here in Sun and Moon is really a very strong option. If you get them off, you can grab a KO and play a 4 versus 3 game. Actually went into the Garchomp here. Interesting decision, and Toxic is the move of choice from Milotic here. That was also interesting. So as I was saying, Protect being one of the few options to really limit what a Z move can do, and a Z move as powerful as Tapu Bulu's Bloom Doom, not only being boosted by its own grass typing, but also by the grassy terrain, makes it so powerful that even through the Protect here, which cuts the power in like 1/4 essentially, it still does a decent chunk here.
Really, really interesting move, and a really good play from Daniel there to make sure he didn't lose a Pokemon very early in this round 2 game here in Birmingham Regional Championships. Milotic on Jamie Boyt revealing that Toxic, and that's going to be a really key point for this game, especially with quite a bulky team from Daniel Oztekin, apart from that Aerodactyl. But we're going to see the Garchomp switching out now. It is going to go into its own Tapu Bulu there. So the Wood Hammer coming out from Jamie Boyt, Tapu Bulu onto the Milotic. It's not intimidated, and it picks up the knockout in 1 hit.
Yeah, I think what Daniel was thinking here is, hey, okay, why did Milotic actually go for Toxic this first turn? Maybe it doesn't have Ice Beam, right? So he figures that Tapu Bulu might be a solid switch in here. However, his own Milotic is well, really not covered at all.
No.
And that Wood Hammer just, well, Tapu Bulu doesn't need the Z move to do a ton of damage. And Melodic, yeah, just going down there in one hit, and that can really already set the tides here for the second battle, because Daniel is kind of forced to bring back in Garchomp if his last Pokemon is Arcanine, and he just switched out Garchomp because he felt like, hey, Garchomp isn't really too strong on the field at the moment. But now, seeing as he's forced to switch it back in, just really tells you the story. Of course, Tapu Bulu took some chip damage, so if Garchomp of Daniel carries Poison Jab, that should easily be enough to knock out the Tapu Bulu now. And his own Tapu Bulu now threatens his opponent's Melodic, just like Jamie's Tapu Bulu just one-hit KO'd Daniel's Melodic.
Do you imagine that the Milotic on Jamie Boyt's side of the field might switch out here? And if it does it go into Arcanine? And if that does happen, are we seeing a ground DMZ read? Because
I mean,
Daniel's behind now. He needs to start making plays that will get him back into this game.
I think Melodic still does have the Grassy Seed activated at the moment, so I would probably expect maybe a Protect this turn, or just trying to go for an attack. We're seeing a couple of Protects here, in fact, coming out from Garchomp and Tapu Bulu. So if a Grass type attack went into Melodic, which is what we're seeing here, so that's definitely what Daniel could need here to come back into this game.
So the Horn Leech is going to do some massive damage to Milotic and heal Tapu Bulu back up to full HP. A Scald coming out once again onto that Garchomp. This might be the information that Daniel needs, that this Milotic doesn't run Ice Beam.
Yep, essentially
it looks like
the perfect turn here for Daniel. He protected the Pokemon that his opponent attacked into, and his opponent's Tapu Bulu protected for nothing, essentially. Also getting some recovery in the course of this Horn Leech makes it so that Tapu Bulu of Daniel is now sitting at full HP, and Milotic should go down to another one of those Horn Leech. So now the one question that we're still wondering about is whether that Garchomp has access to Poison Jab or not. Even if he doesn't, though, he could potentially switch in his Arcanine if that is the last Pokemon he has in the back. Just lower the Tapu Bulu's damage potential, since at this point Milotic being boosted by competitive doesn't really matter too much anymore, because it is in KO range for another Horn Leech from Tapu Bulu.
Yes, so a lot of questions going into this turn. We're actually going to see the Protect coming out from Milotic. No switch outs from Daniel's side of the field either. Are we going to see the Poison Jab? No, just going for an Earthquake here, and possibly looking to catch an Arcanine on the switch in. It's not going to be doing too much damage at all to either of these Tapu Bulus.
That's not really doing much.
That's not too much damage at all, but we're going to have to see what these Tapu Bulus want to do now. We're going to see the Wood Hammer coming out from Jamie's side of the field. It's going to go into that Garchomp in the grassy terrain. Massive damage, just surviving. A little bit of rough skin there, but whew, that was a lot of HP to give up from your Tapu Bulu.
And Horn Leech is coming out into the Protect from Milotic. So yeah, that gives both players a little bit more information. I think it's pretty safe to assume that Garchomp does not have Poison Jab here, because, well, if he had it, then there was really not too much of a reason to not use it. Or maybe he was like already getting a little too far ahead, expecting his opponent to expect that. But Poison Jab fell a little bit out of fashion, since Tapu Bulu, for the reasons we mentioned before, also wasn't too commonly seen anymore. But hey, we might see after what happened in Sheffield Regionals, exactly, we had two Tapu Bulus facing off against each other in the finals. Actually, both of those players are also here. And yeah, we're seeing more Tapu Bulu here, so maybe that is making a return into the format, as it's also pretty strong against that Porygon 2 Gigalith Tapu Koko setup. But yeah, in this battle, actually
there's the Poison Jab.
Have the Poison Jab. Okay, I take back what I just said.
Well, Tapu Bulu now being removed from the field. Jamie Boyt losing his first Pokemon here. Horn Leech coming out from the Tapu Bulu on Daniel's side of the field.
It does.
It does. So now we're back to a 2-2 split on both sides of the field. Jamie losing the Pokemon that he's only revealed so far, Milotic and Tapu Bulu, and we're going to have to see what he's got in the back.
Yeah, Daniel still has one Pokemon in the back too.
Oh so, yes, of course he does.
Yeah, so actually, based on how this worked out, not revealing Poison Jab did pay off, because that lured Jamie in a false sense of security, where he was thinking, okay, like, maybe Fire Fang, is that even enough to knock me out here? I mean, probably could have, but we're seeing the Pheromosa and the Nihilego. Okay,
two Pokemon
that's exactly what you want to have here, right? So maybe Jamie wasn't too worried about being knocked out there either way. I mean, we still haven't seen Daniel's last Pokemon, and there would be a theoretical chance for a comeback if he has that Aerodactyl and manages to set up Tailwind for his Garchomp, but even that will be difficult. So
you'd imagine the safe play here for Jamie is just to Ice Beam that Garchomp slot
and Sludge Bomb.
Yeah, Sludge Bomb Tapu Bulu. Even if Tapu Bulu switches out, the Arcanine's going to take a lot of damage from the Sludge Bomb here, and outspeeds. That's the most important thing.
The thing is, though, if it is Aerodactyl that is in the back, then he could switch Tapu Bulu into Aerodactyl, protect Garchomp, and then next turn switch Garchomp into Aerodactyl and set up Tailwind, hoping that he survives the Ice Beam. However, we're seeing It's Arcanine, and that's not the Pokemon you want to have. Of course, really good against Pheromosa, but not so good against Nihilego.
We see a Protect coming out from Tapu Bulu now, not wanting to take any damage from the Poison Sludge Bomb, and the Ice Beam going into the Arcanine as we expected, but not doing as much as picking up a knockout on Garchomp. Revealing the Life Orb though, so that's a good bit of information for Daniel there. Sludge Bomb safely going into the Protect, and not much damage dealt that turn.
Yeah, I think based on how Daniel was playing, it was a pretty safe call to assume that Arcanine would be his last Pokemon and not that Aerodactyl. So Jamie didn't want to take any additional risk here, just went for the 4 times super effective moves on both of his opponent's Pokemon. And even though it didn't work out that well, I mean, he didn't really do too much damage. His Pheromosa is still outspeeding everything. The Nihilego is still checkmating both the Bulu and Arcanine essentially, so Jamie's still in a super solid spot here.
We saw last game that the Nihilego's Power Gem does not knock out the Arcanine from this position, so Pheromosa does have to protect here. That is very important. Sludge Bomb is going to go into that Tapu Bulu. It will knock it out. There is no way that a Tapu Bulu can be able to survive that unless it's holding a Focus Sash.
Maybe if there's Bulldoze, then there might still be a way though to come back here.
Let's have a look and see. We see the Special Attack Rise, so that is Nihilego's Beast Boost is the Special Attack Rise. Flare Blitz correctly targeting down that Nihilego, but we've seen how bulky this Pokemon is before, not doing that much damage at all, and with Pheromosa still on the field, Garchomp will be under threat from an Ice Beam.
I mean, the only real option that Daniel now has is to protect Garchomp and Flare Blitz into the Pheromosa. We have seen that Life Orb is the item that Pheromosa carries, and usually Nihilego outspeeds Garchomp, but we've already seen Trick Room being a move here on Jamie's Nihilego, so that could mean that it's actually a slower variant. So if Daniel manages to knock out Pheromosa here with his Arcanine and then also protect his Garchomp from any incoming attacks, Garchomp might still be able to take this game.
The Arcanine is in range of the now boosted Power Gem from Nihilego here. It's going to be a really interesting turn, but just imagine if Jamie plays makes the right call, just targets down the right Pokemon at the right time. He's just going to take this one though. Extreme Speed coming out from Arcanine. It's going to go into that Pheromosa. It's not going to pick up the knockout there. Ice Beam safely targeting down the Garchomp, and we're going to see the Power Gem go into that Arcanine for the knockout here, and it looks like Jamie's just sealed this up.
Yeah, definitely. Have we seen whether Arcanine? Yeah, Nihilego outsped the Arcanine. So anyway, yeah, probably Extreme Speed was his only play there, hoping for a critical hit to knock out the Pheromosa. But yeah, with how things played out, yeah, Nihilego getting that Beast Boost and ensuring the one-hit KO on Arcanine is really what sealed the endgame here for Jamie. And now with that Pheromosa just outspeeding the Garchomp, Daniel will forfeit, and we will have the first victor here in the first round of the Birmingham Regional Championship. Jamie Boyt taking the set 2-0 against Daniel.